The NewsX Business World panels on the Indian economy, the show where we look at the Indian economy, currently the impact that of course the pandemic and the lockdown had on various sectors, and now how 2021 is going to look ahead for India's growth story. Joining us live at this point is a Power Pack panel. Vikas Bagadia, the founder of PSAFE, is joining us live. Dr. Farah Naqvi, Professor, OBN Management and writer, is also with us live. Ambud Sharma, founder and CEO, Escaro Royale, joins us live. Shumita Kakkar, founder of United We Care, is live with us. And Dr. Anurag Batra, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, Business World, is also joining the panel at this point. Welcome all of you, and thank you for being with us today. Let me begin with you first, if I can, Vikas. You know, it's a new year and a new show. Looking ahead now at 2021, Vikas, what are your thoughts, your anticipations, your expectations from this year? What did last year teach you that has made you now more fortified to take on the year ahead?
Thanks for having me. I think 2020 made everyone realize what reality is. We have to come back on the earth. Being a startup, we were always flying across. But I think we have learned a lot that how to live, how to make use of the best opportunity available, and we being into the personal hygiene category, where we've already been dealing with the mask and the sanitizers since last couple of years. I think we saw massive adoption of the hygiene product. But having said that, I'll say that 2021 will be more towards vaccines. People will be looking forward to get vaccinated and to come out. And I think I started seeing a lot of rebound that the business is happening right now. So that I think that last year taught us how we can survive, or if I can say that, survival of the fittest. Anyone who is fit can survive. I think that's what is 2020 taught us. And 21, of course, everyone is looking to grow, because we were at the bottom of the curve, and there was only two ways to go up, either left up or right up. So I think there's no other alternative but to go up. So that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, Vikas. And Uday, just for our viewers, as we speak to Vikas, PSAFE has launched a new product today. And I remember meeting Vikas maybe 6 years back, 5 odd years back. And he would talk about hygiene as a big thing, and he would talk about hygiene for rural women, semi-urban, and how he brings new differentiated products and services. Give us a sense of where you're headed as PSAFE.
So, Dr. Batra, I remember meeting many a times, and you always encouraged us at how we are changing the landscape. PSAFE is actually meant for the urban and the tier 1 and tier 2 cities. But we have another brand which we have launched early 2020 in January, which is Raho Safe, which is more towards the tier 3 and tier 4 cities. So we have launched low-cost, high-quality sanitary pads. We have launched many other products which is focusing towards the upliftment of women. Even our one product which we launched today, Domina, though it's a very high-end, very towards metro, but we will be marketing. In fact, today only after the launch, we got a call from one of the state government that why can't we come and talk to them by giving empowering women of using female condoms on that way. So PSAFE will be mostly towards global and tier 1, and Raho Safe will be towards, as the name suggests, Raho Safe, it will be towards tier 3 and tier 4 cities.
And Vikas, if Uday asked you, what are your milestones that you set for yourself and PSAFE in 2021? Clearly, there was an acceleration that was natural because of the nature of the pandemic that we were dealing with. There is a natural movement towards hygiene, sanitation, and hopefully a lot of it is stayed as a habit and will accelerate as a habit in 2021. So what are the milestones that you look forward to achieving in 2021 for PSAFE?
Of course, the total adoption of hygiene went up from 0 to 10 on a scale of 0 to 10. But now the scale has gone down again at around 7. Because now if you see, we were using more sanitizer when we were at home. Now we are traveling across, we are using less sanitizers. But for a personal or my company level, we want to accelerate our personal hygiene and feminine hygiene both, because that was a natural tailwind we had, because we were already in sanitization business, we were already in the mask, so it was a tailwind. But I think it has become a commodity. So we don't want to focus on the hand sanitizer, on the mask, but we want to focus on innovation, which PSAF is known for. So we'll be coming out a lot more innovative product this year, and we want to go out of India as well, because we are already in 10 countries now. With RahoSafe, we want to reach up to say another 200 cities. Right now we are in 90 cities in India in a physical presence. So we want to reach out to more states, and we want to spread the message of not only personal hygiene but menstrual hygiene as well, because menstrual hygiene, as PM Modi also said in the Republic Day speech, that it needs to be taken care of, because only 37 penetration in India. So our main focus this year will be menstrual hygiene, supported by personal hygiene.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Let me go across to Shumita Kakkar. Shumita, 2021 is a year that is a year full of possibilities. Clearly, we've dealt with COVID, and we know that we can deal with anything and come out stronger. Tell us a bit about what you do for our viewers, and tell us where you're headed in 2021.
So thank you, Dr. Anurag. I think very, very valid point. 2020 has been a very, very difficult year for a lot of us. And truly speaking, pandemic has hit the economy, and it has its own impact. 1.5 crore people have got infected because of the pandemic. 1.5 lakh deaths have happened. And if you think about it, we've received so many calls over the last few months where all age groups, be it men, women, all genders, and even children are getting impacted by this pandemic. So much so that there is fear of this today. And 2020, there has been a lot of lessons learned, and a lot of people have gone through, a kind of a mental health issue when it comes to thinking, a lot of stress, anxiety, because of the uncertainty. Even today in 2021, we don't have a clear timeline as to what's going to happen. We have vaccines, but everybody is not too sure about how will it impact us. And therefore, there is fear of loss.
It's called the fear of unknown. It's called the fear of unknown.
Absolutely. It's the fear of unknown. It's there is so much financial pressure on people to pay the EMIs, to pay the credit card bills, to ensure that the family eats today, And we've been getting a lot of calls from youth who are actually, they don't know whether they'll study in US or they'll study in India, or whether they'll even have a job in the next few years, or should they have their own startup. There's a lot of anxiety happening. And yes, we did see this happening with all age groups. And as a company, United We Care, we are a platform that connects people with psychologists, life coaches, and lawyers. And we actually help in the emotional well-being. So when I say emotional well-being, it is very difficult to sit back at home today and not even have a physical consultation because of lockdown and pandemic, and with the scare of even going out and getting impacted by it. So sitting back at home, talking to a psychologist or a life coach who can guide you and help you, reduce your stress is a beautiful way of just talking it out. And apart from just the, connection with a right psychologist, as a company, we also feel it is very important to talk. And that's why, even if you don't want to take an appointment, we have our virtual mental health assistant called Stella, who you can actually talk to. And she is trained in such a way that she actually converts a negative sentiments into positive conversations. So we feel it's very important that people open up and talk. And I'm very happy that mental health is actually gaining the importance and people are opening up today. We have women who have called up, we have men who have called up with the fear of loss of jobs, we have women who have called up with relationship issues, we have youth who have called up with fear of their what's going to happen in their career. We have children who are going through a tough stage because they are not going to schools, colleges. There are old people who are calling up who actually don't know whether they'll be able to meet their loved ones again because the children are in US and they can't travel. So it's just, as a company, we feel we want to touch millions of lives positively and get that positive mindset, because it is only the positive mindset that's going to drive.
2020 has been a year where, anxiety and the fear of unknown, as I call it, gripped us. And clearly, we not being able to do our normal behavior, children not being able to go out to schools, we not being able to see the loved ones. I think it did impact a lot of people. But the good thing is there are startups like yours which are there to be able to help create an ecosystem of support, of guidance, of counseling. And clearly one big trend in 2021 is mental well-being will get more focus and attention than it got in 2020. I think that's the positive takeaway, and we'll come back to you. Let me ask Ambud. Ambud, again, where are you headed as an entrepreneur in 2021? And what are the milestones you have achieved in 2020, which will help you achieve bigger milestones in 2021?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. We are currently at about 120% where we were before COVID. So we have fully recovered, and we have actually surpassed by about 20% in our sales, and we are looking up and beyond the capabilities that we had built out in 2019 and early 2020. And then, of course, there was a little bit of a slump for about 4 or 5 months in the middle of the year, but we have recovered fully. And we had invested heavily in the technologies. We had invested heavily in understanding the consumer sentiment. We looked deeper. It's a cliche now that if you can't go outside, go inside. So we looked inside. We looked at the technologies. We looked at the consumer behavior. We looked at our product mix, the product market fit, all of that, and we started coming up with things like fast fashion. For luxury, typically it's 2 or so offerings in a year. We started doing an offering every month, and now we'll be doing offering every 15 days, right? So the fast fashion freshness is what's driving our growth. That's number one. Number two, what we have seen is that people who did have the money and the means, they went on to something called the binge buying, when they couldn't really do much, in order to conserve their positive sentiment, they were going out and buying things to make themselves feel good, for that, endorphin rush, to get that happy hormone flowing. And that is what drove a lot of our sales, for a little bit. There was, of course, a wedding season that happened. Of course, 50 people in a wedding was typically what we saw. Smaller weddings, but still, it did drive our growth. The fourth piece that we did very well was understanding the AI and the machine learning behind the entire luxury e-commerce segment. For 2021, I would say that with the 5G coming in, with the rollouts of more 4G or LTE long-term evolution towers in the rural areas, in the tier 4 cities, we would be looking at a lot more penetration. And we have been getting calls from various parts of India where they do have some penetration, that whether we can go ahead and deliver to their zip codes. I'm talking about very small cities. I'm talking about towns and small towns. We have started getting orders from there. So 2021 looks very promising from that standpoint as well. There is money. There are pockets of money. Of course, 2020 has marginalized a lot of the population in terms of availability of internet and availability of technology. But I believe that 2021 will bring us good, very high hopes and ability to be able to work on our teams.
Also, another follow-up question for you, Ambud. Before we also rope in Dr. Naqvi on trends regarding e-commerce as well. Because that was something which also grew by leaps and bounds in 2020. Do you believe that's a trend that will continue, or do you believe that once the vaccine is out and people start taking it, people will return to going back to malls, to shops, and so how will the trend of e-commerce continue when things start going back to normal?
All right. I would answer that question in 3 different parts. The first part is the necessity. A lot of the growth that we saw for the time being for e-commerce in the last 8 months was driven by necessity and not generally by the early adoption of internet or early adoption of e-commerce in India. people like, Big Basket, people like Milk Cart, people like, Urban Clap. They saw a lot of e-commerce activity happening just because of the necessity of the service or product availability at their doorstep, right? That was the first piece. The second thing is that we saw that, due to, unavailability of the malls, the physical access space, we saw a lot of people actually buying stuff which were required for their general life. Talking about, basic electronics, that made them, more productive at home. The small furniture items, Bluetooth headsets, for example, right? They saw a huge leap and bound growth. That was also driven by, just necessity, not only to survive, but also to be productive. The third piece, and that's very important, is that, yes, the demand of e-commerce, the way it had shot up, it's going to balance out in 2021, especially with the vaccine coming out anytime now. And, I believe it will be available to the general masses between, April and May timeframe. I believe that people will go back to the malls, people will go back to the high streets, primarily because for most of us in India, high street and malls are a component of experience, are a component of, going out, having some fun family time, spending some time with the family, watching a movie, doing some little shopping here and there, and then coming back home. That's typically how people spend their money and their time over the weekends, for example, right? That particular thing is missing in e-commerce. You do not get any experience. You buy a product or a service, you get it, and that is about it, right? So from an experience standpoint, I believe it's going to go up. The e-commerce will keep growing in India, but I believe the necessity and the compulsive nature of e-commerce that was seen in 2020 will eventually balance out in 2021.
Dr. Batra, are you there with us? Okay, I think we've lost him. Dr. Farhan Naqvi, let me take that across to you. Dr. Farhan Naqvi, your learnings from 2020, what kind of impact it had on your work, and how you're really resilient now for the year ahead.
Just a minute.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good evening, everybody. Happy to join all of you from Kuwait and be with India.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember a site called Buddha.
Please go ahead, Dr. Naqvi.
Okay, yeah, so basically I'm from education sector and academics, and things were in education relatively have been stable over a period of years. But when the pandemic hit, so like the other sectors, we were in a state of shock in the initial phase. So there is one term which we often use, which we call VUCA world, which is characterized by high degree of volatility, high degree of uncertainty, where you're not able to predict the future, and high degree of complexity, where there are so many factors that you need to take into account, and the relationships between those factors, and lastly ambiguity, because there is no clarity about the information about what is coming next. So the pandemic left all of us unsure about how things will unfold in the education services, education sector, and what is the best adaptation response. And if we choose a given response, what will be the consequences of that response? And it got reflected in small things, like how to take a shift from, classes, face-to-face classes to virtual learning. But thankfully, as per the government, they made the initiative, in terms of the national education policy that they introduced, it was a very welcome initiative in the sense that it paved the way for use of AI in the expansion of online learning. So some of the factors that were really interesting in that was though it seems to be a pretty ambitious target, that they seek to increase the gross enrollment ratio of the students from 26.3% to 50% by the year 2035. Now, as we see, the enrollment GER ratio in education sector is relatively low of India when we compare it to developed countries like USA, which is 88.2, and other countries like Germany and UK, and even developing countries like China with 49.1%. So considering all those, like the education sector, primarily the enrollment ratio had been very low because in the higher education, because many of the students used to drop out because of, because 10 plus 12th is a mandatory degree to enroll in higher education. You have to clear your 12th and then you enroll yourself in higher education. And because of this, the ratio was very less. And one of the reasons of students dropping out from higher education was that access to education, gender factors, we know how girls in rural areas don't get the right opportunities where schools are located and all those things. So two things happened together in terms of education sector. One is that this pandemic struck, so it kind of forced us to take that leap of faith and move to virtual learning in a full-fledged manner. And also the welcome initiatives that were taken at the right time by the government. I must appreciate, like some of the initiatives are like, they aim to establish in universities which will be multidisciplinary in nature, and there will be one such university in every district. And the focus will not primarily be on engineering or medical, but on variety of fields like, art, dance, theater, philosophy, psychology, sociology, economics, sports, different areas. And that will strengthen these higher education institutions in a great manner. And also the vocational learning aspect that, previously there was this thing like if you are enrolled for a graduate degree, like you have to finish the 3-year course and then you get a degree. And in between, unfortunately, due to some extraneous factors, you end up dropping out. So those years were wasted. Now they introduce this thing that you can have an exit with a certificate or a diploma based on the time you've invested in that 3-year program.
Okay.
So also they aim to increase the collaboration with by setting campuses in other countries and inviting universities to set campuses in India. So amidst all these things, one side there was this pandemic, and one side there was this initiatives to digitalize the education sector because forced by the pandemic situation.
Right. So that's a benefit. That's a benefit that the sector has got more digitized. It's time now to open it up to some larger questions on this first edition of the show in 2021. Dr. Batra, over to you. Dr. Batra?
Yes, thank you, Uday. First of all, Uday, I'd like to know from you, what is your New Year resolution? We're still in the first week, so clearly all of us are very excited about what we want to achieve in 2021, like we were in 2020 in the month of January. On a very serious note, what are your New Year resolutions?
This year, I think it's best not to keep a resolution, because we kept it in 2020, but things turned out very different to what we thought we were ringing in the new year 2019. So I think this year's resolution is not to make a resolution for 2021, because I think man proposes, God disposes. So let's just hope for the best and stay resilient. And I think work hard. My New Year's resolution is to concentrate on our own work and leave the rest to destiny, because at the end of the day, remember, a lot of things we cannot control personally, but if we stay resilient and we work hard, and entrepreneurs have proved that in this last year, then things will look better. There will always be a silver lining to these grey clouds. And Dr. Batra, since you put me on the hot seat, I have to ask you as well, what was your resolution, or did you make one?
My resolution is to lose more weight. I'll be very real. I lost 12 kg. Lose more weight. That continues. I have a long way to go. On work front, it was to be able to reinvent both of my businesses, Business World and Exchange for Media, for the new world, so to say. Of course, in the way they work, but still, as Americans say, if it ain't broke, break it so that you are able to innovate yourself rather than somebody else does it for you. So clearly, it's to reimagine the businesses that we are in. And on a personal front, is my single biggest thing is losing weight and being healthy. And one thing very important is to spend more time with your family and friends. I think I did a lot of that in 2020, and I enjoyed that. As you know, I'm always working, so I enjoy working, but clearly I think spending time with your loved ones gives you more happiness or as much happiness as work. So these are I've not kept too many. Of course, when it comes to businesses, there are business plans and there are ideas and there are projects and one will go on to them as we progress. But you were so right, give it the best. I'm doing this show right now. I want to be in the present, give it my best. That's what I want to do. As you know, I was down with COVID last week for the last 14 odd days, but I did my show with you every day. I did not take a break. So clearly, just giving your best can make magic happen. If each one of us who's supposed to do something does what they do well, I think it all adds up to good things for the country. But I would say that, I said it in March 2020, and I'd say it in Jan 2021, that we are in a 3C economy, a contactless economy, a compassionate economy, and a collaborative economy. I think in 2021, the acceleration on these 3 C's will happen, and any enterprise you see, whether it's a social impact enterprise, or it is a for-profit enterprise, or you're an entrepreneur in an institution, you will need to kind of navigate these 3 C's. So that will only accelerate, only post the success of the vaccine, and I have all reasons to believe that it will be successful. Will we see any improvement in business environment? Because the business environment still for a lot of sectors is very weak, and the liquidity in a lot of businesses is weak. Of course, Vikas rightly said that a lot of people who were, who were not realistic about their valuations, about their business models, rediscovered their businesses to make them sustainable and earn money and spend money. That mindset change happened. I think that will continue in 2021. And from a business standpoint, you will see 2021 could be the year of IPOs. You'll see a lot of large profitable startups will go to IPO this year. There'll be huge IPOs and they could signal recovery of the economy in a big way. So that's what I expect 2021 to bring. But clearly the lessons that we learned in 2020 of being frugal, of doing less with more, never saying never, and most importantly, collaborating internally and externally will continue to accentuate. But let me bring in Ambud. Ambud, if I had to ask you, we are about 26 days away from the budget. What are your expectations from the budget? As an entrepreneur, what are your expectations from the policymakers? Budget is one big directional indication. So give us your expectations.
So there will be a multi-pronged approach to this in my answer. The first is the ease of doing business. I mean, we keep on talking about ease of doing business and the policy makers making, better policies, cleaner policies that will help the entrepreneurs, the new entrepreneurs, as well as the established entrepreneurs to do better business with less compliance and less compliance cost. Right, that is the first thing that I'm somehow expecting. Maybe some policies, somewhere will actually, motivate that. The second thing is that to be able to see some of the segments to be lesser, on the GST budget, for example, right? I mean, there are certain segments of products and services which are on a very high GST level, like an 18%. And I believe that some of them will be actually put into a 12% or a 5% zone in the coming budget. The third thing is that because we are looking at a shrinking demand in the market in general. I mean, India is now. I mean, all the indicators from the growth standpoint are stating that our demand is slowing down, and as a result, our debt consumption is slowing down. Right, our banking segment has seen a reduction in the amount of debt that is being consumed. A lot of money, outflow of money is available in the market, but nobody is there to kind of pick it up. I believe that there will be policies around banking that will help small entrepreneurs, micro entrepreneurs, to be able to get, access to that money in a more, non-collateral way. I mean, you go to the bank today, they ask you for collaterals and 1,500 pages of documentation, all of that. I believe that effectively will be simplified. It should be simplified if the government has to help the banking sector in terms of debt consumption and the rotation of money is concerned. You were right from the IPO standpoint. Yes, there will be a lot of IPOs coming up in 2021. One of the reasons is that a lot of the companies which had raised bumper money from the market, from the stock markets, they will actually eventually come back, and instead of reinvesting that money in their business, because remember the demand is low, they will be doing a lot of acquisitions. And once the acquisitions come to a certain place, those will be ready for an IPO going forward, because they will be actually strengthening their portfolios with the gaps that they typically saw. So from an IPO standpoint, I believe the government will also come up with something to be able to help some of the companies to go into the IPO mode a little better. Those are my 4 thoughts.
And also, Uday and Ambud, it's a year where we may see the privatization of Air India. It's been a long-standing thing that even the previous governments have attempted. Of course, the last 6 years since this government came into power, it's trying to get Air India to get privatized. So 2021 may be a year where Air India gets privatized, and we have a new owner, and hopefully we see renewed vigor in the way the Indian national career flies, and hope government this year in many PSUs. So clearly 2021 will be a year where you'll see a lot of good things happening on the economic front. Let me bring in Vikas again. Vikas, what are your expectations from the finance minister?
Given the the COVID region, when a lot of things were offered, so there was not much of an expectation, but I can see that, of course, ease of business, again, as we have been talking about from last 6 years. What I can see massively is into, a lot of, I think, pressure will be given on how to made in India products and how to start alternate of China and start productioning in India. I think Atmanirbhar Bharat will, the hashtag, very popular hashtag which government uses, I think that will be very important. Personally, I see, because one of my businesses is into cold chain monitoring, so I can see a huge demand generation on the vaccine distribution. So there will be a lot more companies who will be up and running for and grabbing the business for vaccine distribution. But if we come back to budget, I don't have much of an expectation other than focusing on made in India products and to give more and more benefit to the MSMEs and the small medium enterprises. I think that's where the India success lies, because India runs on MSMEs, and if you can really help MSMEs by giving them a lot of waiver in terms of interest, in terms of loans, in terms of easier capital availability. I think that's what the entire MSME sector in India will be looking for in terms of budget. But I don't think anything which government will be offering in terms of personal taxation benefit. I don't think there will be a much of increase in taxes, but yes, there will be an increase in import duties for products which can be made in India. So just to that, they can start manufacturing in India. I think that's a few takes which I look forward during this budget by the finance minister.
Okay, Ambud and Vikas, you're right. SME is the backbone, and Ambud, you're right that the offtake of credit suffered, and unless until the environment and the confidence to be able to pay back that grows, possibly that will continue to be weak. Shumita, what would be your expectations from the finance minister? The minister has promised a budget like never before. It has raised everyone's expectation, and clearly the economy could do with a boost. So what are your expectations as an entrepreneur from the finance minister's budget speech?
So I completely agree with Vikas and Ambud, and SMS, small medium enterprises will be the main companies where we should invest. But yes, I would have one urge, and I would really wait for the budget to come up with a little more focused on healthcare as a whole, and on mental health also, because from 2020 to 2021, we've seen a major shift in the mindset of people who have realized the importance of mental health as well as physical health. For a small cold or fever, people used to go to a doctor and show themselves, but when it comes to stress or anxiety, people never went to a doctor or even never consulted anyone. But now they're opening up, and I think government should really focus and help people and motivate them to open up more by giving such policies, so that once they do, their anxiety and stress level doesn't get aggravated and their productivity level increases, and that's how the economy will grow. Today, there's a huge stress and huge strain on people's mind, and that is where I think healthcare and policies which are very, very pro healthcare will help in helping people build the economy.
And just to support Shumita, recently, couple of days back, a very large entrepreneur in America stepped out. He was a co-founder of a business, said, I'm not well because, I think I need to take care of my well-being.
Yes.
So I'm stepping away from my business till I'm well. I'll let my co-founder look at it. Now, just recognizing that, I think, we have a long way to go when it comes to, well-being and it not being a stigma. We've traveled some road in 2020, but we have a long way where, mental well-being is treated on the same footing as physical well-being and I keep saying is a lot of times if you're not mentally well, it will manifest itself in your not being physically well. So, clearly they are both linked. Stress can lead to, as studies have time and again shown, it can lead to developing of ulcers, developing of headaches, developing of, certain behavior which not necessarily help your health in the long term. Dr. Naqvi, you've come from the education sector. You took us through the VUCA world in 2021. Does the VUCA world looks like it will become more predictable, or will it continue to be more VUCA, to use your terminology?
No, as far as I see now with the vaccines that have come up, we are looking positively that life will return back to normal. And we are already seeing in some of the colleges have already started off with blended learning, where they are allowing students to come in batches, they make divisions so that they can meet the teacher and have a face-to-face interaction with the teacher and the student. So that, because what happened is, one side we were trying to build a system that is more of a holistic and flexible system, but at the same time, because of the pandemic, everybody got isolated. And in fact, I'll share, I took a session for this students of Manipal in Dubai on emotional intelligence. So while talking to them, once I finished the session, most of the questions, as one of our panelists just talked about, were centering about, ma'am, how to deal with all this staying and, completely out of touch with the college life and everything. So it has been very tough for the students, also for the teachers also to quickly adapt to. And there are certain courses which are very difficult to, deliver online. For example, I'm from I have been teaching in organization behavior. So let us say we talk of any activity, like we teach decision making, or we teach team building or leadership or anything. We used to center our classes around activities or simulations or games, and then everything used to be observed, how the student came. In fact, in the group activities, we used to assign one person the role of an observer who would take notes of all the small aspects. Then in the debriefing, we used to address those things. So the learning used to be very fun and participative, learner-centered and fun activity. Now with this virtual thing, it became quite monotonous and one way. Many times students are on mute, and they are not on video, so it becomes like one-sided affair. But hopefully with the vaccine coming in, and though there have been news about the mutated virus, so which is again making us a little insecure. But if things, if everything gets sorted, and if pandemic, till the time pandemic is there, definitely we are doing well, and with respect to moving with the blended learning and virtual learning. But I am very positive and hopeful that once this pandemic gets over, probably things will be back to normal in the education sector also, and maybe in a better way, because having learned.
Dr. Naqvi, we do have a education magazine, and every Wednesday I do a VW Education Wednesday Wisdom. And I talk to many academicians, and the blended learning is in. And one of the things I ask them is, right now we have a choice to be on the campus or not. I mean, some places we have a choice, not every place. But let's say when we have a choice fully, will we still want to do blended, or would we want an on-campus education only? Because clearly what we are doing right now is a lot because of compulsion. We can't be in certain campuses, so we are utilizing the technological tools available to be able to impart education. But on-life campus education has life skills to offer, have, on-campus relationships
Yes.
to offer, which help, education is not about just
Yes.
learning a skill. It's about, or a
Just as
subject. It is much more than that. So do you see when we have a vaccine, when we have the choice to either do it fully virtually or do it in a blended way, will we go back to campuses? Is that something that will happen? Or do you think campuses as they exist are a thing of the past?
No, I don't. Campuses will be a thing of the past, and they should not be, because as you already said, that education is not merely about transference of knowledge. It is about so much we learn. Like we were also once students in college, so we learned so much from our peer interactions, through our teachers, through our fellow classmates, and so it is about an overall experience. So simple things like, if you want to teach a communication skill to a student, and when you make him stand right in front of the entire class and make a presentation, so they learn to overcome and fight their fears, be it with respect to public speaking and everything. So there are so many other subjects like psychology, where you have labs and counseling and all these things require practical implementation. So how it's not always possible to do it that effectively virtually. You can have virtual assistants. AI is highly and is being well integrated in the education sector. We are seeing that there are now even exams are all happening online using auto proctoring services, which facial recognition technology. Everything is can be and done virtually. But there are some benefits of visiting the campus and in the classroom learning and outbound learning with the human interaction that technology cannot replace. So once I think this pandemic gets over, the students as well as the teachers and everybody would like to return to back to
Or
campuses.
I like it. You are saying the teachers would also like to return back to the campus. Clearly, that's a good sign. I want to close the panel by asking all of you, when do you see the economy? And, Shumita, you're in India. Ambud, you're primarily in India. And Vikas, I know you're fully in India. When do you see the economy coming back in full bloom? 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? And do qualify your answer. Why? Let me start this time with Shumita. Shumita, when do you think the economy will be back in full bloom?
Dr. Batra, this is very, it's a question which nobody can answer today. It absolutely depends on how and when the vaccine will come. But one thing I would like to say, you have a very positive attitude with whatever you just said, in the last 10 minutes. And I would just say one thing to everybody, that there are, in last 2020, when the entire businesses were going down, we as a team of United We Care, we were all gung-ho about creating a difference. We built up a team of 25 people. We got a funding when there was no funding being given to anybody. We did everything that was impossible because we all had a positive mindset and we were all extremely excited about what we were doing and positive. The same thing everybody can do in 2021. I don't know about the budget. I don't know about the economy. When will it come back, and when will we all come back to our normal self? But this is a new normal, and let's be positive. That's all that I have to say.
Okay, you didn't give us a direct answer, but you're right. The right answer would be maybe 6 months from the day of vaccine reaching a lot of people. The moment that fear factor goes away, people would start traveling, they're visiting, their offices more, they'd start spending. Right now, also people are saving for the rainy day. They don't know how long it will last. So clearly, we as Indians have a tendency to save for the rainy day, and that when you save, that doesn't necessarily help the economy. It helps it in a different way, but not the demand economy. Vikas Bagadia, when do you see, basis the sales of your products, or how do you see the recovery? Do you see it sooner than later, or do you think we're in for a long haul?
No, I don't think that we are in a long haul, and I agree with you, Dr. Batra, that it will take around 6 to 8 months post the entire country is vaccinated. But being India is a huge country, it will definitely take a long, and many people have different choices that will they want to get vaccinated, because they don't even know how it's going to react. So that's the different question. But I'll see that giving.
No, I would like to address that. While I'm not a doctor, I don't have any other knowledge than you have. But if the maker of serum, Adar Poonawalla, is ready to get him kind of inoculated with the vaccine, when the top leaders of UK, where the vaccine has been made available, have inoculated them. And I have no doubt that India's top political leaders, to be able to give confidence to the public when the vaccination drive happens, they will show solidarity and their faith in the vaccine. I don't think a scientific process has been followed to be able to come up to where the vaccine is. I think we should have faith in the vaccine and not put questions around its credibility. I think a lot of those questions have been asked by the regulator. They've been addressed. After a lot of trials, they've been accepted. So clearly, yes, there may be a question, but for all our viewers, I'd like to say that the vaccine, from whatever I know, is safe. I would take it tomorrow if it was available to me tomorrow. Clearly, I would encourage my family to take it. I have grown-up kids, so I cannot speak for them, but they can speak for themselves.
No.
But I'd encourage my family to take it. So clearly, while there may be legitimate questions about the efficacy of the vaccine, which again has been proven, and as the vaccine gets rolled out, the government has done immaculate planning, and in a large country like that, it may go completely to the plan, it may not go completely to the plan. But I would say that we have to have faith in the efforts of the government and the efficacy of the vaccine. So I don't think that's a question mark there, and I would not.
No, absolutely.
With the political leaders there is a certain political leader who went on and said, this is a certain party's vaccine, I won't take it. I think that's a very dangerous slope to go to. And
no, absolutely.
That I think the vaccine doesn't look at what party, the disease doesn't look at what party you belong to, what religion you belong to. I can tell you, I've had COVID, that it is very democratic. The only behavior. Again, I would say that for most people, they will survive it if they just follow some basic hygiene of resting a lot, taking medicine, and most importantly, having the faith that they'll get past it. So if you have that, it is something. I know it is a big, as we say, there is a fear of the unknowns. It is one of the big unknown. The fear of the unknown is bigger than thappad gadar thappad se bada hota.
No, you're absolutely.
COVID
You're absolutely right, Doctor.
Of course, if you are an old person and you have comorbidities, you need to be more. But I can tell you that if you stay strong, you take right doctor's advice, even if you got it, you'll be okay. I want to say that it's not something we should be afraid of. Of course, I'm not saying we should court it. I'm not for it because it does take a.
So Dr. Batra, I'm a COVID survivor. So I had COVID very early in June itself, because I never stayed at home. So I know how it be, and you are 100% right.
It does make you weak, and it does sap some energy. That of course it does. That does.
Okay.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.